Greetings ladies and gentlefish, and welcome to a pair of replays from me once again. This is going to be a pair of not fully upgraded tanks, and it's going to be a case of chasing around the baguette. Both of these machines are French, and in each case, although they're not fully upgraded, they're kind of stock. If you've played a lot of the other French lines, and if you've been thorough with your upgrading of modules, the stock machines are actually not very painful. So for example, this is the AMX 5100 Tier 8 French heavy tank, and the first machine in its line to mount an autoloader. If you have played the rest of that line, unlocked all the modules, and certainly I've played the other lines as well, then your only modules left to upgrade are your suspension and the gun. You can see I'm actually using the 90mm DCA 45 gun, I think it is. 212 pen, 240 alpha damage. And so actually the stock AMX 5100 isn't too bad. Certainly not as bad as many machines. Now at the time I played this, I think I had played enough games to unlock the top suspension, but I didn't have the top gun, as I say. So we are here on Live Oaks. This is a patch 9.6 replay, and we've come down to the train tracks. Now I'm in a top tier heavy tank. Why have I come down to the train tracks? Well, because the AMX 5100, regardless of what the game will tell you, is a heavy tank in the same way that I'm a Japanese schoolgirl. It's okay, it's relatively large, yes, and the hit point pool is alright, but more in line with a medium tank. Mobility is fairly good, again, more in line with a medium tank. The armour is absolutely terrible, again, more in line with a medium tank. And the gun, well, it does boast an awful lot of firepower. Damn, fighting with the gun depression there. And it's really the firepower that makes this a heavy tank, but it means that in your French heavies beyond tier 6, you don't really want to be in a town duking it out with the enemy top tier heavies. You want to be taking advantage of your hilarious amounts of firepower, and you want to be putting shots into people who don't know they're getting shot, or who can't fight back, or who can only put one shot into you before you empty your magazine into them and wreck them. Now I'm taking blind shots at the last known location of that M6 in the hope of trying to nail him. I wouldn't be doing that with the 100mm gun, because the 100mm gun, firstly the shells are considerably more expensive, but also it gets a significantly longer magazine reload time. It's best part of a minute to reload the magazine, or 50 seconds, something like that. To reload the magazine with the 90mm gun is closer to 35 seconds. And I'm now heading back to our base because the enemy team has won the town. We didn't really send anything in. I mean, there's a Carnarvon and a Tiger over there. The Carnarvon's now dead. There was a Carnarvon and a Tiger over there. So I'm now going to head back and try and defend our base. Being a French autoloading tank with this sort of oscillating turret design, you get pretty poor gun depression and gun elevation. In fact, really, let's be honest, the good thing about this tank is the gun. And that's only if you're able to unload on someone. The soft stats on the guns on this machine are pretty unimpressive. And I have a pretty slow start to this game, I'm going to be honest. None of those are effective shots, so I'm not taking them. If I fire, I risk giving my position away, and so I'm going to wait until I actually have a reliable, effective, penetrating shot. That one alas missed. The accuracy on this gun is not great, more to the point the aim time is really not great. I'm failing miserably to lead my shots there. And there's a T-37. I've probably been spotted, so I try and just unload my magazine at the T-37. This might be a bit of a mistake, but I want to make this guy go away. I take a couple of hits for my trouble, bounce a shot there, and pull back. The armour on this tank isn't fantastic, but especially if you're pulling back and so sloping the plate up and the turret up, you can get bounces off of light tanks and sort of bottom tier medium tanks, you know, kind of guns with around 150 pen. Anything more and you really can't expect any sort of bounces at all. But we've taken out that T-37, and I'm not claiming to be an excellent AMX 5100 driver here, I should point out. I haven't had much experience with the tank here. My only auto-loading experience has been with the light tanks, really. That shot misses because this 90mm gun, but our artillery nails the KV-85. 5 rounds left in my magazine, which would be enough to deal with those two guys. So, let's go and deal with those two guys. Oh, KV2, KV2, change of plan. KV2 can really wreck my day. My armor is not very good, and a penetrating hit from a KV2 will leave me in all kinds of trouble. So, there's one shot, I get spotted. 2. And I pull back, because I do not want to take that shell to the face. Someone else picks up the kill. It is more important that I don't lose all my health than I secure the kill on a KV2. As it is, someone else picks up the kill. Anyway, and as you can see, because I'm not using the top gun, it allows me to reload a lot more frequently and go into more engagements with a full magazine, which is quite nice. You know, in a similar manner to playing like 1375 or something like that. With the top gun, I would not be reloading the magazine anywhere near as often. Anyway, IS-3. Trying to move so that I don't take shots. I do get spotted for my troubles, but whatever. I now have a full magazine. IS-3 ahead, T-28 prototype to my left, and the enemy team has pulled some tanks back to defend their own base. We have a VK-3001P who's pushing toward their base for reasons that I don't properly understand, if I'm going to be honest. And IS-3 didn't really have an effective shot. And he decided he didn't want to take a shot on me. That shot doesn't hit. This gun is not very accurate, alas. None of the guns on these tanks are accurate or reliable. 5 shells left in the magazine, which is still enough to put a lot of pain in on these fellas. It would still be enough to execute the IS-3 and then go after the prop. Jagdpanther 2 is going after the IS-3, and nope, I do not want the prop looking in my general direction. He shoots our Jagdpanther in the side, however, which is suboptimal, and then turns his turret to engage somebody else, giving me shots into the side of his turret, and he is dead. Jagdpanther 2 takes out the IS-3. I have 3 rounds left in my magazine. The scoreline is even at 10 kills to 10, and so I decide to go for a reload. The enemy don't have any top tier tanks remaining. And we just lost that VK, who went for the enemy base and really should have gone back to defend. The enemy has a Tiger P, E-25, M12 artillery, an M6 and a Panzer IV-S. And because we've managed to play reasonably cautiously, we have most of our health remaining still. We've only lost about 250 hit points. And this means that if necessary, I can pull around a corner, pump shot after shot into someone, and I can afford to take a hit or two in the process. So I can trade my health to secure kills on the enemy team, basically. Now this is where the 90mm gun falls down. It's lower alpha damage per shot than the 100mm gun, meaning that your and the reload time between shells within the magazine is not really any better. So it means that your unload time on the magazine isn't really any better than it is with the 100mm gun, but you do have to deal, but because of the lower alpha damage, that means that you effectively have lower DPM while you're unloading, so you're going to take more damage while you're unloading. I focused down on the M6. I expect to take a kill, but I wanted to make sure that guy died, and indeed he does. 4 shells left in the magazine. I even bounce a shot there. So that's what I mean. The armor on this tank is not good by any stretch of the imagination, but if you're pulling back and sloping the plate and the turret back, you can get bounces. Again, binos up. I'm not going to take a shot at the front of the Tiger. Apparently I am going to take a shot at the front of the Tiger P. That was stupid. Get a bit lucky there and manage to secure the kill with a shot going through his side armor. Taking shots at the front of a Tiger P with 212mm of penetration from long range does not give you a reliable kill. And it almost guarantees that I was going to get spotted, so that was kind of a dumb move. We know there's the Panzer IV-S still back there, we know their artillery is somewhere, and we know the E-25, sorry, was last spotted around the lake area. I've still got most of my health remaining, about 1150 hit points. Jagdpanther 2 on low health, and then we have our artillery. I'm slightly concerned about that E-25 going up to the AB lines and flanking around. And I don't just want to sit here forever, because really the enemy know where I'm going to be now. So I just got spotted, which indicates to me the E-25 might actually still be on. No, not on that waterway. He is going for our artillery, as I feared. And so I must have been spotted by a Panzer IV-S. So my plan was to push forward, try and kill the Panzer IV-S, and then turn back and deal with where I thought the E-25 was likely coming from. As it was, Sod's Law, he reacts just as I move. Meaning, awkwardly enough, that I am suddenly out of position. Which is kind of frustrating, but there we go. Anyway, E25 is a one-shot. That was lucky as all hell because I did not aim that shot. And I'm going to keep moving to avoid artillery. Now, the Panzer IV-S just nailed our Jagdpanther II, which means realistically he is back there. In the same region as where he was before. That's the most likely position for him. Panzer IV-S is not particularly mobile, so that was most likely a shot into the rear. Bearing in mind I got spotted earlier on and it wasn't by the E25, so it was probably the Panzer IV-S. There's the Panzer IV-S. I'm just going to sit here and wait to get a good shot on him. Does he have Sixth Sense? Possibly not, because he's not panicking. And we execute him. I get spotted, I want to keep moving, and I don't want to make my path predictable because the AMX 5100 does not take artillery shells well at all. 4 rounds in my magazine, which is plenty to nail an artillery piece. Unless RNG decides that it's just going to screw all over my face. Although I actually decide that it's going to take me time to get over to where the artillery likely is, so let's go for a reload. I mean, Tier 7 artillery, it's probably going to take 2 rounds to kill him. This gun isn't particularly accurate. You know, 4 rounds, well, it should get the job done, but I decided that as it'll take me a while to drive over there, I'm unlikely to come across him in the process, so I might as well reload the magazine. 6 shots is better than 5. Now that guy is unlikely to kill me with 1 shot, but it is possible. I don't actually know what the alpha damage is on the M12 off the top of my head. The alpha damage on the French Tier 7 artillery, which is the only Tier 7 artillery I've played, is about 950. So even without an ammo rack or a fire, I imagine it is possible for the M12 to kill me. The French tend to have kind of relatively small guns for their tier. There's the M12 in question. He's put himself in a nice little hidey hole. And I decide, yeah, I do, screw it, I'm just going to take the hit to the face, as indeed I do, and good night, sweet prince. And that's a Top Gun. Voila. That was the game. So, let's go and have a quick look at some post-battle results. So here are the results. That was actually worth a first-class mastery in the end, which I wasn't expecting, but there we go, I'm not going to object. You've got Reaper in there, Spotter, and Fire for Effect, if anyone cares. Because we did some spotting damage overall. Managed to pick up a Top Gun in the process. Total of basically 2,600 damage, 1,105 base XP, which is lower than I was expecting for a first class in the AMX 5100. I mean, it's a tank with a lot of potential, and it's a tank that also tends to be used in some of the more competitive game formats, so I was expecting the XP requirement to be a bit higher. But I guess the fact that it's used in these sort of competitive contexts and it has a lot of potential also means that many people probably don't play it all that well. So there we go. Top damage on our team, in fact top damage among the game, and picked up that Top Gun. Massive shout out to the Panzer IV-S on the enemy team. Very unfortunate. He racked up basically 2,000 damage and 3 kills before the game was over, before I killed him. He was the top damaging player on the enemy team. In fact, if you include our team as well, he did the 3rd highest damage count in the game, behind myself and our Jagdpanther II, and he was a bottom tier machine, so massive shout out to that guy. Even with a standard account with that gun, was able to make a profit, even though my hit ratio wasn't particularly good. 22 shots fired. Every shot that hit penetrated, 13 hits, 13 pens, but the gun is just not that accurate, and a couple of the shots I took were really snapshots, and it was kind of lucky for me to actually get those penetrations. Of course, you have to factor in the fact that I got over 1,000 assistance damage, spotting damage, which obviously helps when it comes to making moolah. I lost about half my health. It took 6,500 credits to repair that, 5,500 credits to resupply the ammunition. That cost will go up with the 100mm gun, and even with a standard account I walked away with just under 20,000 credit profit for a tier 8 heavy tank, which is none too shabby. So, them's the breaks. There we go. Let's go and have a look at game number 2. Here's the second game, and once again we're in a Tier 8 French machine. This time it's the Tier 8 French tank destroyer, the AMX AC-48. Now, not only is mine stock, I'll explain what I mean exactly by that in a second, but also this is the very first game I ever played in it. I had not looked up the stats of this machine or anything, I just jumped into a game and decided to see how it performs. So again, much like the 5100, when this thing is stock, provided you've been fairly thorough with your module upgrading as you've ground your way up through the French tech tree, the only modules you don't have unlocked on this tank already are the top suspension and the top 120mm gun. And you can mount all the other modules on the stock suspension. So this is stock suspension, and this is the 100mm gun with 232 pen and 300 alpha damage that you can have picked up on the Tier 7, even if you didn't use it on the Tier 7, the AMX AC-48. And this is kind of a trend with the French tank destroyers. They tend to have a gun with a better aim time that I've certainly found often I prefer using, and then a gun with a worse aim time but better alpha damage and penetration that you can use if you want, but it is usable on the next tank. So you end up using gun A while unlocking gun B for the tank one tier higher. Anyway, this is, and can I just point out, I think the AMX AC-48 is a very good looking machine. It looks awesome. Anyway, here we are on, what's the name of the map? Can't remember. Erlenberg, Derpenberg. Of course, how could I forget? This is a tank destroyer. Because I don't know what to expect with this, I'm going to play this match fairly cautiously. Like I said, it's my first game in this thing. I do think this machine definitely has the potential to be played much more aggressively than I'm going to play it in this game. But, as I said, first game in it, so I was being a little cautious, and I'm trying to pick out a shot on this T29, but it's not trivial. So, first thing to note about this, it's mobile. Even with the stock suspension, that was a shot at his commander's hatch, which was very unlikely to hit. Even with the stock suspension, this tank is reasonably mobile. Oh, he's being tracked. Turning his turret. Ah, I thought he was going to keep turning it and give me a shot into the side, but he's now dead. The other thing that I noticed is that the gun depression isn't terrible, so that's nice. The accuracy on the gun, of course, I knew was, is relatively good. The gun traverse arc is, well, it's French, so I'm not surprised that it's not fantastic. I mean, it's alright, but it's not great. 1,000 hit points? Well, a lot of the Tier 8 tank destroyers tend to get quite wimpy hit point pools, but 1,000 really is quite pathetic. There we go. Slightly below average damage roll. This gun hits on average for 300. I rolled for 297, but not too shabby. And we'll take another punt at the IS's last position. But he's quite sensibly pulled back. IS-3, yes, 232mm of penetration, cares not for your armour. And the IS is down. We're currently losing this 2-3, which is slightly annoying. So, as I said, I hadn't looked at the stats of this thing, and what I found playing the AC-46 was that the AC-46 had a 90mm frontal plate, sloped back at a not particularly inspiring angle. What this meant in practice was that your armour wasn't fantastic. Side of the turret of a T28 Prot, thank you very much. And so you had to be a little bit cautious with it. This was of course not helped because you had those massive great tumours on the top of the tank. Now the AC-48 still comes with those big great weak spots basically. But as I learnt later, I went and looked it up, and as is going to become apparent in this replay, the armour is actually not too shabby. In fact, it's 150mm sloped back at a pretty encouraging angle. Meaning that realistically, on the frontal plate of this machine, even if you're not using your gun depression, your effective armour ranges from about 220-230mm to about 250-260. Which is really rather tasty on a Tier 8 TD. KV-85, yeah, that one stung. Below average damage roll, but never mind, let's not worry too much about that. Don't have a nice shot on the Easy 8. KV-85 puts a HE round into me, and I put a round into the Easy 8. And now I'm in the slightly awkward position that there are bad guys everywhere, and whilst my frontal armour appears to be able to bounce shots, I'm pretty confident that my side armour is not going to do that. French tanks tend to not have great side armour. That A43 tracks me, which is kind of annoying, and yes, I've noticed that Easy 8 who is coming up behind me. This is not good. So, A43 dies. I repair my track to try and deal with this Easy 8 Sherman. He is desperately trying to get behind me. He manages it, and then he makes a mistake. He allows me to back against a building. This means he is no longer behind me, and I can take off a good chunk of his health. With a shot, he tries to get round my side, puts another shot into my side armour, but with this building I can kind of scrape this guy off and put him out of his misery. Alas, he damaged my ammo rack, which is annoying, but we survived, and that's the important point. Even if we're ammo racked, our gun is still in the game, and oh my god, that's a KV4. Fun, fun, fun! So, let's try and pick out the not too angled bit of armour on that guy, I guess. Alas, we bounced, and we're sitting here with a considerable reload time. Don't have the repair kit, of course, because I had to use it on the tracks in order to be able to engage that Sherman in the first place. But the scoreline is now 8-8. T25-2, bang, is feeling slightly worse for wear, and appears to be distracted by our artillery. Well, if he's just going to sit there... Oh no, he is now moving, and I also let my team know that I am ammo racked. Bounce a shot from the left, and no, he makes it through before I can reload. Damn it. Okay. KV4. Looks like he's aiming for my weak spots on the top, but bounces, trying to pick out his lower plate, and there we go, put a shot into him. T25-2 still trying to go after our artillery by the look of it, but our GW Panthers having none of that, thank you very much. KV4 using the 122mm gun by the look of it. I didn't notice that at the time, but he is, which means that he needs to hit my weak spots to penetrate. I didn't know this at the time, of course. Although I judged by this point that the frontal armour on this thing seemed to be pretty good. He's got 175 average penetration with that gun. KV85. Ooh, that one hurt. Or maybe it was actually HE. That KV... Is that the same KV85 as earlier on who was firing HE at me? Ooh, there's only one KV85 on the enemy team, so it must be. Pick out the KV4's lower plate. That shot hurt. It looks like the KV4's got on board and resorted to HE as well. They do not like my frontal armour. That also takes out my commander, which is suboptimal. And so I'm kind of pondering here what to do with my commander. On the one hand, I could leave the commander, leave him unconscious because his bonus to the rest of the crew is minimal, on the basis that I in case my loader gets knocked out, I don't want a ridiculously long reload time. The flip side is one more penetrating hit or HE round and I'm probably dead, so screw that. Let's put the commander back in. KV4 is now being worked over, so let's go and help my friends out in working him over, see if we can pick up a bit more damage on him and possibly even pick up the kill. KV84 isn't looking this way, and good night, sweet prince. And that was the game. So, first impressions of this tank were really darn good. I got ammo racked, but I was still able to pump out a good amount of damage. It was mobile. Okay, so here we go with the stats from that match. As you can see, that picked up a first-class mastery alongside a whole bunch of tiny little ribbons that I really can't be bothered to deal with. We also picked up Spartan, Confederate, Steel Wall, High Caliber, and Tank Sniper, which was a nice collection of medals to get. You know, especially considering this was my first game in this thing and I'd been ammo racked, 5 medals and a selection of ribbons was none too shabby. Also, considering we were ammo racked, we managed to get almost 4,000 points of damage, 3,850, 1,041 base XP, which apparently is enough for a first class in this tank, and rack up 2 kills. Easily coming top of our team, both in terms of experience and damage. Top of the game in terms of damage, quite happily. Should probably mention the 1375 on the enemy team, who managed to get 2100 damage. It was good matchmaking for him, but that's a good effort, and 3 kills. He did say actually partway through the match that he was out of ammo, so I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. Also, well done to that Easy 8 Sherman. He came round, he tried to kill me. He probably should have tried to take my track out, As it was, he took off most of my health and damaged my ammo rack. It cost him his life, but well played to him nonetheless. And finally, 17 shots fired, 16 hits, 14 pens. Not too shabby. As I say, just shy of 4,000 damage, 1,700 of which was from more than 300 meters. In terms of armor, we received 26 hits, only 8 of which penetrated, and bear in mind some of those were HE rounds being spammed at us. So for almost 3,000 damage blocked by armor, 800 odd assistance damage. We did not make a huge amount of money, however. Only just under 8,000 credit profit. 100mm gun. I mean, this is the anti-tank version. This is the TD version of the same gun that you get on the 5100, and the 100mm shells cost a lot more. So if you look at the money there compared to the 5100, you'll see that, okay, we had a higher repair bill, but we were more heavily damaged. Also, ammunition costs were far higher. Both of these replays I should quickly mention. I pre-buy consumables when they're on the cheap, so obviously those costs do not include the resupply of consumables because I've already bought a shed ton and I'm just working through them. So experience, it was a ×3 event, so we managed to over 3k experience even with a standard account, so that was quite good fun. Hope you guys enjoyed that pair of games. If you did, please feel free to catch some of my other videos and or subscribe to my channel, and I wish you very happy hunting on that battlefield. Ciao ciao.